Hey everyone, it's Bryan from Raid Leader TV with the first episode of a new series I'm calling Bryan Reviews. Now I don't have the time to explain exactly what went into the naming of this series, but rest assured it's very complicated and very good reasoning definitely behind the naming of this series. But pretty much all it is a kind of casual review, you could say, of games that I think you guys might enjoy that I've been spending some time playing. And for the first episode, we're going to be looking at a game called Besiege. So right now this game is in alpha, and I know some reviewers have issues looking at alpha games. I personally have no qualms with that, as I'm sure you guys can understand what being an alpha means. But just to reiterate, the game is in alpha, meaning that a lot of this stuff can and probably will change as they continue developing the game. So this is very much a work in progress, so much so that in fact you can see we're in the main menu right here, and all these zones, this is a little level selection screen. A lot of these zones just say under construction and they're not actually able to be played. In fact, all of them except for one, which is this Ypsilon zone, as well as the sandbox. So you can play in the sandbox, but it says work in progress, so I'm not really sure. I guess that's some kind of like in between under construction and regularly playable. But we're going to be taking a look at both of those, the Ypsilon and the Sandbox, as well as some creations I've already made and some stuff I'm going to make. So to start off, Besiege is a physics-based kind of construction game, kind of like Minecraft in a way. Like you're building these, or at least it reminds me of Minecraft. I don't know if other people feel that way, but you're building these kind of devices and structures, and then you're using them to accomplish certain goals, which we'll go into right now. Real quick, let's look at the options menu. Very bare bones, basic. Again, this is an alpha. And I'm going to say this right now. I'm not going to continually bring up the fact that it's an alpha every time I show you something. This is just my last kind of disclosure, or not disclosure, but the last time I'm going to say that it's an alpha. So from now on, just realize a lot of this stuff might change in the future. But here's our options for right now. You can turn blood on and off. These are all kind of binary, on or off. I'm not sure what vignette does. And then you have your resolutions on the right. I'm running this in 1920 by 1080, as well as a windowed mode, which is currently turned off. So pretty basic. And this is pretty cool for a main menu screen. I'm not sure if it's ever been done before, but this is the first time I've seen something like this, where you can actually just kind of rotate the level selection. I think it's a lot more interesting than just like a list of levels. And each of these zones, I shouldn't call them levels, each of these zones actually has levels within it. So let's take a look at the Ypsilon zone, which is the only one we can currently play. So here we are in Ypsilon, and this is kind of another level select, except these are each different levels, each of these little plateaus here. And I really like the kind of minimalistic art style this game has throughout, like the waves here, little triangle type things representing the waves. I think is pretty cool. And something I realized or discovered on my own the last time I was playing this is this little ship here, which you can actually click and destroy. So, I mean, why wouldn't you buy the game just based on that? No, but that was pretty cool though. I enjoyed the fact that I clicked it and it blew up the first time. I was very, very happy with myself. Kind of reminds me of Hearthstone maps, where you can kind of interact with the environment. But this is the level selection for the Ypsilon zone. So the way this works is there are multiple levels in this zone, and it's progression based. So you start down here, you can see it says zone 1, and I conquered it. I beat this entire zone, I should say. So zone 1 down here is conquered, and you have to beat zone 1 in order to progress to zone 2, which you need to beat in order to progress to zone 3, and so on and so forth. And I really like that the little kind of structures, like miniature structures on top of each plateau, are representative of the actual challenge. So I know that this one, which is showing like a bundle of logs tied together, is the one where I need to pick up these like resources and move them somewhere else. I know this one with the windmills, the one I need to destroy the windmill on, and so on and so forth. This one attacks you with cannons. So pretty cool. So we're going to start with zone 1, which is the first thing you'll see if you pick up this game. Alright, so this is already something I was creating earlier. So you'll start with this. Right, so you just start with one cube and surrounded by a bigger transparent dotted line edged cube. And you start with a tutorial here as well, which kind of tells you what to do to beat this first challenge, but we're just going to X that. And it shows your objective in between brackets with an arrow pointing to it. So we just need to destroy this hut. That is our only objective. And we are given all of these things at the bottom of the screen here to build with in order to create the best machine that we feel could destroy this hut. So the way this works is here I have my wooden block, which is pretty much the most basic thing you can get. There's also a small wooden block, which is just exactly half of this. And you build just by attaching it to your source block, your little teal and gray cube there. So you can't just build on the ground. Like if you want to make a big square, you can't just build on the ground. It needs to be attached somewhat to this source block. Everything's kind of relative to that. So I would make a square, or a rectangle I guess, like this. And then in order to start the simulation, you just press the space bar. And now we're in the game. And it's physics based, so it obviously drops to the ground like that. And we'll press spacebar to go back again. Now we need to figure out how are we going to destroy this house. Well, we have a lot of things available to us. It's separated into little categories down here at the bottom, like blocks, mechanical. This is where the game really shines, is the mechanical section where you can actually build complex, like moving things using like gears and pistons, spinning blocks, hinges, pulleys, all kinds of crazy stuff. But for this one, it's pretty simple, and the tutorial actually gave us the answer. So I'm just going to go with the simplest solution here, which is we're going to add some motor wheels onto our little car here. And you can see there's arrows pointing, and you can actually turn those around if you so desire. But that's pointing the way the wheel will spin when you activate it. And up here we have our key mapper little tool. So if we click that and then click something like our wheel, we can change some of the options, like the forward key. We could change that to left, although I don't know why we would. And we could change the speed that the wheel spins at. But we're going to keep it the way it is right now. And let's try it. So we have our guy now, or our little machine, and he is sitting on 4 wheels. And if we go forward, he goes forward, back goes back. And all we need to do is just simply run into this house. And it's very fragile. They make their houses out of very cheap ceramic material. So just running into it will conquer the zone. And you see we got nice little trumpets and flags to celebrate our success. And then we can click the next zone button to go to the next level. Alright, so here we are at level 2. And we have a similar challenge. We need to destroy the lighthouse this time. So why not use the same thing? Well, because it's on a hill. Although, to be honest, I think we might actually be able to just crawl up the hill and destroy it. This level has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because it's obvious they want you to create a new machine to beat it with, because this one, like, the only thing different is it's on a hill, right? But a lot of times I was able to just simply, this time is a bad example, now I look like an idiot trying to explain this to you, but a lot of times I was able to just simply climb up the hill using the same device that I built on the first level. But it's not going to work this time. So, how about this? How about we go to our flights, make some adjustable weights. So all these things do is they actually weigh down your structure wherever you place them. And you can change the amount of weight that they have. And there's also a little tool here, machine info. If we click our center of mass, it'll show the center of mass is now way back here. So if we start it, it'll kind of lean back like that. If we go forward, you see, like that. And what I'm going to do, the reason I'm doing this is because I feel like I've never tried this before, so it might not work. But part of this game, I guess all of this game really, is kind of experimenting and trying out new things to see what works. So you can see here I'm trying to place a block here and it's red. That's because we're running into the top of our build area. So I can just click this little translate machine button and drag us down there. Optionally, I could just click the set machine on ground, which puts as low as the lowest block, and they can build up like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to build a little poker. I'm going to see if that works. Maybe I should kind of bind it to the back here so it doesn't just break off. Like that. Alright. And it looks like I'm going to miss to the left, so I'm just going to start my machine right here. Alright, let's see if this works. This is a pretty ingenious design, I gotta be honest. Boom! Perfect. And it shows at the top the amount of blocks that you used, as well as the amount of time it took you to defeat the level. Let's go to the next zone. We'll do this zone, and then probably the one after it, and then I'll show you guys the sandbox mode, which is just where you can build wherever you want. So part of this game is the ability to save and load the devices that you've created, as well as share your device files with other people on the internet. Like, I know the Besiege subreddit is very, very popular these days. Like, it seems like every time I go on, every few hours, there's like brand new machines that just blow my mind, that people are so creative that they're able to create. If we take a look at some of mine, we can see some of the things I made. A lot of experimenting. I've been trying to fly a lot, so you'll see a lot of stuff with propellers, like giant biplane, stupid, plane thing, wing flap, plane almost. I've been trying to fly a lot, so don't judge me. Scout cannon. This might work. I don't remember what this is exactly. It looks like it's just a little armored vehicle with a cannon on top. Oh, and it turns. Perfect. So the challenge of this level is that our last machine could only go forward and backward, right? There was no turning possible because I pressed the forward key or the up key and all the wheels spun forward, and I pressed the back key and all the wheels spun backwards. So I'd eventually run into these mines that are in between us and the actual zone. So I'll show you what happens when you do that. You run into one of these bombs and you're just destroyed. There's no actual failure state as of now, so you will just sit here and burn to death, which is part of the fun, seeing your machine just kind of destroyed. Oh, this poor sheep on fire, now burning to death. Oh gosh, he just blew up his other sheep friend. But you could still just sit here with your machine and spin your wheels around and stuff. My wheels are all completely charred until you press the spacebar to restart it. So the way I've done this is I have these little steering hinges so that when I press the right key, they're going to steer that, and I press the left key and they steer the other way. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I created this. I think it would have made more sense to just put hinges on the first two, kind of like a regular vehicle, but I mean, this is kind of cool too. I can kind of move like a crab around these things. Oh, look out, little sheep. Oh gosh, yeah, you're gonna, if you have a strong like for sheep, this game might not be for you. There's very many sheep deaths. Alright, am I gonna actually fit through here? Yeah. What do I feel? Oh my gosh. This is definitely possible, I feel like. Let me get a different angle and it's the sheep. The sheep are running into the bombs. Alright, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna scrap this, make something completely a lot more simple. That's too wide. Let's go back. Like that. And this, the simplest car that turns that we can make. Motor wheel, motor wheel, motor wheel, motor wheel. And we're gonna go to our key mapper up here. And instead of up and down on this side, I'm gonna make it left and right. So now I can control the left and the right sides individually. So press up, the right wheels go forward, down, the right wheels go back, left, the left wheels go forward, and right, the left wheels go back. It's not very intuitive, but it'll get the job done if I can figure out. Alright, so left and up is what I need to press to go forward here. Yeah, you're not killing me this time, sheep. Oh gosh, okay. So yeah, this game is pretty fun. A lot of just kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't. A lot of learning how to build different devices. And I'll show you some of the more complex ones I've created after this level here. But it's a lot of creativity and coming up with what you think works for the challenge. Oh my gosh, there's a sheep stuck inside of my... There we go. Come up with the challenge, or the answers to the challenge that you think would best work for each level here. Just want to be very careful. I don't want to end up dying right here. And there we go. So let's go a little bit more into the building process here. This is the first mission where you have actual enemies. So we have archers right here that'll shoot at us. So if I start it, they'll begin shooting at your machine. It can actually damage it. You can see the wood kind of getting darker, and then eventually it'll just fall apart like that. And my machine's not doing too hot anymore. And the challenge here is to destroy these two things in the back. So it's pretty much taking the first two levels combined, as well as adding a obstacle in the front with enemies. So let's load one of my other machines here. Alright, shitty catapult might work. I'm not sure, but I think it'll work. We have these little pulleys in front, the little elastic bands. So I know usually catapult is kind of kind of elasticized back in the back. Is elasticized a word? Kind of elasticized back in the back, and then you kind of let go of the elastics to kind of spring it forward. But the way this works is actually pull the elastics to kind of spring my thing forward like that. Okay, which takes care of those guys. So now the obvious challenge would come from... Oh my gosh, I've destroyed myself. All right. How about my airstrike base? So something worth noting is I have seen kind of significant frame drops when running the more elaborate machines. I don't believe this game is very well optimized yet, so just be aware, especially in sandbox mode where there's no limits on how big the machine is that you're creating, as well as the fact that you may have noticed by this point there's no budget. I use budget as it's like a Halo Forge term, which is the closest example I can come up with. There's no limit on the amount of blocks you can place. And here we have our weapons tab of flamethrowers and cannons and bombs, and they don't cost anything. So I'm not sure if this will change at some point. I imagine it might, but as of now, there's no actual limit on anything you can place. So the limiting factor is can your computer run what you're trying to simulate here. So we might see a frame drop when I start this simulation. And I've noticed that some of the stuff that can combat that is up here. We have our time, and we can actually slow it down to 35% here. And it actually looks kind of cool. We got frame drop when we're starting it, but now we're going back up here. And I'll release my little bombers, and there's no way to control... Yeah, okay. So there's no way to control these things. I don't have any steering mechanisms. I just kind of have the fact that they go up and do their own thing, and I'm hoping that they'll destroy what I want them to destroy. Oh, if the debris could just hit these houses... Oh gosh, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. Yeah, I've failed. This has destroyed me. The third. Oh, camera's freaking out here. All right, let's go into the sandbox and take a look at that. So I believe that'd be in the main menu, and then we choose our sandbox level. So this one is specifically marked a work in progress. So I guess they really want people to know that more so than the other stuff, this might change. But if we take a look around here, it's pretty much just a bunch of different scenarios you can play with. So there's like moving blocks. Over here we have like a wind tunnel. Up there the wind pulls you or pushes you up, and over here, if you could see the little snowflakes, the wind pulls you down towards the ground. There's ramps and all kinds of crazy stuff, but really the reason you would come here is to just go out in the open. At least in my mind, the reason I always come here is to go out in the open and just build giant machines. So I'll show you one of those giant machines now, or a couple of them. We'll take a look at Giant Biplane Stupid. So, yeah, this kind of speaks for itself. It's stupid because I am stupid and have not figured out the most efficient way to make... I really want to make a plane that is run by these propellers. So these are all spinning blocks. You see the arrows there? So these propellers are actually aerodynamic in a way so that they'll spin and like provide force to pull our plane forward. All these fans here provide force, you know, going up. These fans all provide force for lift for our plane. And then I have wings here for kind of aerodynamic pressure to steer our plane around. So this is the kind of machine I'm talking about where if I were to run this 100%, I'm actually too afraid to do so right now. Because I think it might corrupt the recording. It immediately freezes and drops to, you know, maybe 2 frames per second, if that. So this is definitely something you need to be aware when you start making machines of this size, which is not at all the most complex machine I've seen. This is something that I put together after a couple hours of experimentation and different designs and stuff. But there's stuff on, like I said, the Besiege subreddit, and just on YouTube you could search for just crazy machines. People have made like fully functioning bolt-action rifles and stuff. Just insane. So this is not near as complex as you can get, but this is as complex as I'm willing to go, just due to the limits on the machine and the frames per second. So I'm actually going to lower this down all the way to, say, 15%, just so we could take a look at this. And the way this works is all these propellers will start spinning. And you can see the reason there's a giant like log tower, I guess, attached to one side of the plane is that we're still turning to the other side, right? So how can that be if all this force is like dragging down on that side? Oh gosh, let me just get destroyed there. But the reason is because these propellers in this like physics-based engine that Besiege runs in are actually pretty accurate. So when they turn one direction, you can see they're all turning the same way. It's actually providing the opposite force to the frame of the plane, which is turning it to its right side here. So you can see it's turning to its right because all these propellers are exerting this force in the opposite direction. So I put these logs here to try and counterbalance it so that the plane would kind of be way to the left, but I still can't get it right. I asked on the subreddit, and I think I got a good suggestion to kind of have some kind of spinning thing on the other side that's exerting the opposite force, and I think that might balance it out, but I just haven't gotten around to trying that out yet. We also have our wings here, so if you take a look at the wings on the right side and left side, we can steer those upwards and downwards like that. Pressing O will activate all these fans and give us some more lift. So you can see we're falling slightly less quickly now, which is about the best that my plane can get. And then I'll show you guys one last design here to give you an idea of some of the stuff you can create. This is just my little quadricopter cannon. This is probably what I'm most proud of that I've made so far. So the way it works is, I actually need to kind of look at all these keys here. This is a very complex setup. So you start it, we're still on 15% speed, I just realized. And I can press J, which will actually release us. I used a decoupler to release us from that little landing pad here. And let me go up to 100% speed. Alright, so this is kind of like a quadricopter design. It's not really because of the fact that there's more than 4 propellers here, but it's a simple design with very complex controls. So as of now, there's no way to bind your mouse, like mouse movement, to any of the functions in the game, so it's all based on keys. So I literally right now have my right hand on the arrow keys and my left hand on like T, G, and F as I'm trying to control this thing, because I have up and then down, and then like steer right, steer left, forward, back, yaw, X, Y, Z. It's very complex. And then I have my cannons that just fire 2 cannonballs. So that usually doesn't work. So usually the best strategy with this thing is to crash. No, the best strategy with this thing is to actually just run it into the towers and then fire cannons like that. So that's probably the device I'm most proud of, which should give you an idea of how bad I am at building things. But I'm still learning. And I'm actually playing this game a little bit every day. I'm very, very into it. I have a lot of fun with it. Probably put Steam shows about 8 or 9 hours so far into this game. So I haven't had it that long, and I have had a lot of fun with it so far. So this is Besiege. As of right now, it is $6.99. You can get it on Spiderling Games' own website, as well as on Steam for the same price, $6.99, or your regional equivalent. And thank you for watching Bryan Reviews. Let me know what you think of this in the comments, and let me know if you have any other games that you'd like me to check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.